Welcome to a bonus Locked On Senators. You knew we couldn't actually stick to 3 episodes per week, so we are bringing you a contentious draft once a week here on Locked On Senators. We've got the whole crew. I'm Ross Levitan with Brandon Piller and at Levitan Martian. Today, we are going to pick our 4 top Senators UFA signings of all time. Let's get to it.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the Ring of Honor. That's what we're calling each draft once a week through now until the regular season begins. And very topical that we've decided to go with best unrestricted free agent signings of all time in Sens history because, well, there's been a lot in the last 2 years and not much before then. Pilsy, how difficult was it for you to get 12 names down for this draft?
Well, I mean, we each get 4 picks, so I've picked about 4 or maybe 5 guys that I've got ready, but I'm pretty confident in my picks, and I feel good about it.
Martian, what's 4 times 3?
12. Pilsy, sounds like you're not really preaching preparation here. That's your usual thing, so I'm liking my odds all of a sudden after hearing that.
Yeah.
As a goalie-friendly show, we have decided there must be one goalie on each of our lists, but our lists have to be decided some way. We know it's going to be a snake draft, so whoever picks first, it's going to be a while until they pick again. Would you rather, Martian, pick first or third in this type of draft?
I think I'd rather take that third spot because that's two picks in a row, kind of in that first half of the draft is kind of important. I feel like, but I really feel like the advantage goes to the guy who drafts 2.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
I don't want to draft 2. And with that, we'll pull up our wheelofnames.com. We are going to do this as fairly as possible here. We've got Pilsy, we've got Ross, we've got Martian, and we've got a spin coming right now. Who will pick first? It is going to be...
Oh, stop. Nice.
Pick first. Okay, we have a winner. So will we remove Pilsy? Yeah, because we don't want it to hit again.
I won the draft already.
So, well, Martian wants to draft second, and I want to draft third. So this could actually go in everybody's favor. And here we go. Spin, spin, spin. Martian drafts second. So there is your order. Pilsy drafts first. Martian drafts second. I will draft third. And with that, how easy was this choice at number 1, Pilsy?
Ross, my whole draft and my whole brand kind of hinges on me getting the first pick. So this is a great day in Ring of Honor moments right now. Right off the bat, we get a good one. So if you'll allow me, I'll kick things off with my 1-1 pick.
Fine, go ahead.
My first overall pick of the best all-time Sens UFA signing goes to Dominic Hasek. I mean, this was the easiest choice of all. Anytime you have an opportunity to sign the greatest goaltender of all time ever, it's the best decision. The Sens were in their prime when this happened. Hasek said he wanted to go to a winner. He's a 6-time Vezina Trophy winner. He's won the Hart multiple times. I won't hear any argument that there's a better goalie out there, and he's easily the best UFA signing ever in Sens history.
How many playoff games did he play for Ottawa?
Doesn't matter.
Oh.
He is
0.
Do any of you guys have a pick where the Sens signed an unrestricted free agent that is the greatest at their position of all time?
That's up for interpretation, Pilsy, I think.
Yeah, it is. Because if people are going to go into this saying the biggest free agent name, yeah, sure. He played half a season.
Yeah, you got to look at their body of work with the Ottawa Senators. I feel like that's got to be come into play when you're considering it. So
okay, he had a 209 goals against, a .925 save percentage, and 5 shutouts, a 28-10-4 record.
The best ability is availability.
He was available most of that season.
Oh, he wasn't. He was practicing and said, maybe next week. Maybe
until
next
the Olympics happened and he decided he didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah, the Olympics ruined everything.
Yeah, don't pull an adductor trying to defend your guy here.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not pulling many muscles defending him. He's the greatest goalie ever, and the Sens got him as a free agent. Easy. 1-1. Boom.
I will say what makes this a fair pick, good pick, Pilsy, is the fact that we all need a goalie. And it's very easy to say Dominic Hasek is the best goalie that they've ever signed. But
best goalie of all time.
I'll leave for interpretation. This isn't the best goalie of all time. I don't care what he did in Buffalo or Detroit. Don't care. It's what he did in Ottawa. This is the Sens' biggest free agent signings. Martian, your second overall pick.
Second overall pick is a really easy choice for me because I had him ranked number 1 on my list going into this. It happened very recently. We're all going to be very familiar with this player. He came in at a very crucial time for this team when we needed leadership. 6.5 times 3. Claude Giroux is my second overall pick, boys. First season already with the Ottawa Senators. 79 points in 82 games. Played all the games. Super important player for this team. He committed to them at a time where, a lot of people maybe weren't looking at them as a contending team. He saw it differently. He sees the potential. Love to have a guy who's representing the team, who's local like he is. And, I'm very happy here with my first overall selection in this draft. Having a current player, I think, is kind of important for this list because when the people vote on it, they're going to be, thinking about the players they know and love. If you take too many oldies, I don't think you're going to win this competition, boys. I've got Claude Giroux.
Yeah, I mean that's the obvious 2 pick. That even could have been a 1-1 pick, but obviously you guys know I was going for Dominic Hasek. But yeah, great pick. Great.
Is it fair to say that was a tier in its own?
I would say, yeah.
Those two, yeah.
Because I can go a few different directions here, and what's good is I have 2 picks.
Yeah, you got the back-to-back. Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting.
Martian, good pick. Claude Giroux is my personal 1-1, and like you said in your statement, it's the fact that he picked Ottawa when nobody else was really looking at coming here.
I think if I went any other direction than Claude Giroux with that pick, people would just automatically discount my opinions here. So I'm pretty happy with the 2 boys.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Okay, well, there's a substantial drop off. I'm gonna go for how often do European free agents sign and nothing comes of it? Stefan DaCosta comes to mind, right? So I'm going to go with a guy who worked out and signed a 4-year extension. Artem Zub.
Nice.
Is the third overall pick in this draft. I think last year some fans maybe say a bit of a down year. I would be one of those fans, but we know what he can bring when he's at his best. And I think that and obviously, knock on wood, you never want to see injuries, but he had that broken jaw. It probably affected him. Even when he came back wearing the cage the protection. And I think when you look at his body of work overall, it's so steady and it's exactly what the Senators needed at the time. So for them to identify that as a player playing in the KHL and for him to translate that into being a consistent shutdown type defenseman in the National Hockey League, Artem Zub is going to be my first pick, third overall in our list. Your thoughts?
I think that's a good pick. And I mean, you're wearing the Zub shirt, so you kind of you put yourself in you painted yourself in a corner that you're going to pick that pick eventually.
Very predictable pick, Ross, with the shirt. I saw the shirt go on pre-recording, and I'm like, oh, here we go. I know exactly where he's going to go.
Well, I also want to shout out Doodling Daryl, who made this shirt. He's also going to make our graphic for this. A reminder that those graphics will be on Twitter. Not sure if it'll be ready for this week, but it will from now on. And we are also taking recommendations. If there's a draft that you want us to do, let us know on Twitter at Sens Central and fire one over at Levitan Martian as well. But Doodling Daryl made these shirts. You can go check it out on his store. Great artist, and I'm really looking forward to what he's going to come up with the Ring of Honor. So Artem Zub is my first pick. Did I leave anybody obvious on the board? You don't have to say who, but was that? Yeah. Okay.
Artem Zub was not on my list.
What? You're on your list? Well,
Pilsy only got his guys hand-picked already. So as soon as we pick one of the players that Pilsy's got on his list, he's going.
I'm not saying it's a bad pick, but it was not on my list, and that was your first overall pick. So,
well, you know what? I better pick somebody who had success in the playoffs with Ottawa then with my next pick.
Yeah.
I'm going with a fan favorite, a guy whose career was cut short. I'm going with Clark MacArthur.
That was what I had loaded. Yes.
Grizz is going to be my second pick, 4th overall in this draft. Now, he played parts of 4 seasons with Ottawa. It was really only 2 seasons, unfortunately. Only played 4 games in 2015-16, 4 games as well the next year. And you look at what he did in that postseason coming back. The first goal, I believe it was game 2 for Ottawa. It might have even been game 1. The one where they lost to Boston before winning the next few. But the ovation that he got, it was a little bumper play on the power play. And he just, man, I mean, he scored that goal as a bumper, and then he scored the game that sent the Bruins packing in Boston, game 6 in overtime. So I just saw all sorts of heart, determination, logs on the fire, whatever you want to call it. That's what Clark MacArthur exemplified. And I was at the scrimmage that Patrick Seeloff took him out, and it was just the biggest scumbag play in Senators training camp history. If we were doing a draft on that, that would be my 1-1 for worst plays in training camp. But yeah, Clark MacArthur's an easy pick here for me.
Yeah, I really like that one, and that series clinching goal against Boston's an important part of that pick there too. I think that was just an incredible way for him to kind of go out as a Sen. Yep. And yeah, I love the pick, Ross. So far, my list is going in order, so I'm on track right now. Pilsy, preparation does pay off. So yeah. I hope nothing happens to your list on my pick here following that.
Me too.
And when you guys are ready, I'm ready to make that selection because this is a guy I was really hoping to get on my team. So here we go. I'm going with another Russian defenseman, Ross. So that's 2 Russian defenseman free agent going off the board. And I'm looking at Sergei Gonchar, an absolute legend before he signed with Ottawa. Bit of a surprise, I think, free agent signing there. I think that was around the time where, free agents weren't really looking at Ottawa. I think they'd had some previous success in that, early 2000s years. And I think Gonchar probably saw that. He liked the team. He liked the makeup. He was used to playing them. And he came in at a nice little price point too, boys. 3 years, $5.3 million. So that's a really nice little contract for a legendary offensive defenseman. He carried the power play from the back end. He was immediately thrust into the PP1. His puck moving skills were unmatched. He also had 186 games played for the Sens and 91 points. So that's a nice pickup. A bit of longevity there with the team. I'm going to be very happy with Claude Giroux and Sergei Gonchar as my 2 guys.
What would you say to people who point out that Gonchar was a complete defensive liability with the Sens?
I would say, that wasn't his obvious strength, but, he was doing the thing offensively, and we're used to seeing star defensemen do that, such as Erik Karlsson. So you take the good with the bad with a guy like Gonchar. And I think, he brought a bit of leadership to that group as well. So I'm going to be happy with Sergei.
Yeah, that's a good pick too, because it was important to have a guy like him for Karlsson to kind of look at and lean on as a power play specialist and an offensive defenseman. So yeah, Sergei Gonchar, that's a great pick.
You think Sergei Gonchar's a Hall of Famer?
It's very close.
Yeah.
I think you could debate it, but I don't think
Russians aren't getting into the Hall of Fame these days, so I don't know about it. But I really like this pick too, especially with Ross taking Zub. I know the defensive side of things aren't there, but Ross, very similar games played number, and Gonchar more than doubled the production. So,
I would hope so.
Just about doubled. I'm just saying.
You probably
it's something to consider for the fans when they're making their voting picks. So.
Well, I think everyone would know who quadrupled, if not sequentled, if that's even a word, the defensive impact on the game. Before we get to Pilsy's next pick, because I know he's chomping at the bit to get to it, I think Pilsy's got a word for us from our friends over at FanDuel.
Yes, I do. Too bad we can't put odds on best team on FanDuel, because that would be a good one for the Ring of Honor. But if you do want to get some action in on real sports, you can go to FanDuel, the trusted online sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network, America's #1 sports book. And you can take your first bet on MLB on FanDuel, get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. So with $20, you can land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's the key. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. Those green numbers hitting your account right away. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
All right, Pillsy, get back to the draft here. We've got our teams already locked and loaded. Maybe you do your pick, and then we'll do a quick reset and show the people where we're at.
Love it. Again, one of the few guys on my list has made it to me. I'm so excited about this. I feel like my draft so far has a theme, and I'm worried people are going to get on me for it. But I'm going for star power. I'm going for, you know, like the name on the marquee lights. I'm going for that. And you guys chirped me about my first pick not playing a lot in Ottawa. Well, this player I'm about to pick has 0 games played for the Ottawa Senators. He is another Russian, Vladimir Tarasenko.
I like that one because it's TBD, right? It's like it definitely leaves a lot to interpretation for the people picking. If you didn't take him, you know, with your next 2 picks, I would have taken him with my next one as well. He was the next player ranked on my list, so I like that pick for you, Pills.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind it. Obviously, I'm hoping for the best, but right now, that's a bit of a reach for me, I will say. He's in this tier. I tiered them. He's in this tier, but I would have taken some other guys first.
How is that a reach? He scored 30 goals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and he's a Stanley Cup champion, and he was the best free agent available, and the Ottawa Senators got him. You said it, Ross. Not a lot of guys choose to come to Ottawa. He had multiple offers. Most offers were longer term and more money, and he chose to come to Ottawa. Honestly,
I don't know about term.
What do you mean?
Seems like the only deals that were out there were 1 year.
No, didn't he had a multi-year deal? Well, I mean, he had a multi-year deal with Ottawa.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that back. But
yes, there were multiple teams that were after him still, for sure.
Yes, and the Sens got him at a good value, and I like the fact that they got him at 1 year. I think that's great.
No, that's true. I was thinking the value of the player and like in terms of that. But for Ottawa, it's great. No, there's no doubt. Okay, your next pick.
3 Russians off the board, fellas. That's kind of weird.
4. No, 3.
Russians don't really always fare too well in Ottawa either. So those are maybe 3 of the best Russians in Sens history, other than maybe Volchenkov. But
yeah.
Man, I'm trying to decide.
And Alexei Kagorodov.
I'm trying to decide whether to sewer you guys or not.
Well, feel free.
Try it if you dare.
Because there's some tendies available that I might.
You're gonna take more than 1 tendy on your team? I know it's a goalie friendly show, but that's just a crazy move.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Ooh, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna do it. My next pick, Andrew Hammond.
Okay.
The Hamburglar run. You guys say what you want, but that is one of the best, I don't want to say moments, like sports segments of time, sports records, like not just in Ottawa Senators, not just hockey, but all sports. What an insane story that was to have a guy come from the minors who's not even an average goalie in the minors. I would argue that at the time that he came up into the NHL, he was a bad goalie in the minors. Now, he had been in this, he signed as a free agent in 2013 out of Bowling Green State University. But at the time that he came up to the NHL and started the Hamburglar run, he was an unknown guy, and they had no hope of making it to the playoffs. And then he rips off one of the most insane streaks ever, 21-2 record, a 179 goals against, and a .941 save percentage. That's a guy that's a diamond in the rough free agent signing. So I feel good about that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that. And now it feels like you have a very particular theme, Pillsy, and that's guys who didn't play much with the Senators.
Oh, are we doing longest tenured Senator signings of all times or all-time best?
Well, usually when you're talking about the best, it's guys who made the most impact, maybe like a long-term.
Oh, yeah, the Hamburglar run, not really impactful, not really memorable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He was on my list. Martian?
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy pick for me, Pillsy. I don't really like it at all. I think that was off the...
Hansel hates it.
He went completely off the board. My dog's barking in the LT over here. Sorry about that, fellas, but absolutely crazy pick, Pillsy. I don't like it at all.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Oh, man. But wait, before Martian does his pick here, Hansel's trying to help him out, give him his gas here. I don't know where he's going to go. And I'm getting a little nervous because there's somebody who I want with my next pick. So let's hope I can get there. But just a reset here after Pilsy did his 2 picks. Pilsy's team, for those listening, Dominic Hasek, Vladimir Tarasenko, Andrew Hammond. Martian has Claude Giroux and Sergei Gonchar. And I have Artem Zub and Clark MacArthur. Martian, you good to go?
I am good to go here, fellas. I'm going to take a guy that it's going to ring some bells for names here again for local people, and that's going to be Todd White, gentlemen. That was a sneaky pickup by Ottawa. He was kind of an unproven player at the time, and he came in and he played great in the middle 6, and most of the time I feel like in the top 6. He had back-to-back over 50-point seasons. 50 points and then 60 points. So, he came in at a crucial time for the team too, where they started to kind of make those turning points in the early 2000s. I like this pick for myself yet again, especially with the local ties and him being a bit of a voice back in the day on TSN 1200 there as well. He's still very involved in the community. I think that's an important part of this draft, fellas. It's like coming in here and taking care of the streets of Ottawa in a certain way. I like Todd White, 290 games played for the Sens, 144 points, fellas. It's nearly 0.5 points a game. I like it. Todd White, not the biggest player, but he gave it as always a bit of a honey badger out there. So I'm going to go with Todd White.
Yeah, I think his line mates helped him out a bit. I think he was kind of stapled with Daniel Alfredson for quite a bit of his time.
Yeah, he was, but that's part of it. You gotta, if Alfie wants him on his line, that's good enough for me.
True.
Well, I'm really happy that you took Todd White because you're leaving me. I honestly don't know what you're going to do for a goalie, Martian. I have no idea what you're going to do.
I know exactly what I'm going to do.
And Martian's the guy that wanted to have a position lock in the draft.
Made a mistake.
You have 2 guys left on your list?
Yeah.
I only have 1. Are you taking Matt O'Connor?
No.
I'm not. But I'm going to get the goalie out of the way here first. Fellas, it's the goalie who started the first playoff game in Senators history, the goalie who won the first series in Senators history, one of the best helmets in Senators history. It's Ron Tugnut. This guy came to Ottawa at 29 years old, had already set the record for most saves in a single playoff game. I believe it was 92, if I'm not mistaken. He was just an absolute steadying presence back there, old school stand-up guy, kicking out pad saves left and right. And like I said, it was a short stint. And I think a lot of fans, if they could get a do-over on that Tugnut for Barrasso trade, you probably do it in 2000. But hey, he got them to the dance for the first time. There's that iconic photo of Wade Redden jumping into his arms when they clinched a playoff spot for the first time in franchise history. So if we're talking about impacts like Pilsy was with his 22-game stint of Andrew Hammond, how about getting to the dance for the first time and almost beating Dominic Hasek with the Buffalo Sabres that year? So I got Ron Tugnut going in for my 3rd pick.
I was deciding between Hammond and Tugnut with that pick, and I went with Hammond to keep the theme of kind of memorable and moments and stuff. But yes, Tugnut, that's a good pick.
Okay, thank you. And then for my 2nd pick, I think I'm going to have to do a bit of an explainer on this one, but I'm also very confident in this pick. And I would like to put it on record that this is the first time that he signed with the Ottawa Senators. Boys, this might be a bit off the board. I'm going with Joe Corvo as my pick here.
I like it. He's on my list there, Ross.
Joe Corvo, talk about big shoes to fill. The Senators signed him about an hour after Zdeno Chara left as a left shot defenseman.
Yeah.
He comes in and not that he was supposed to replace him per se. They had Redden, they had Phillips, they had Volchenkov, all left-handed shot defensemen. So it wasn't necessarily that, but the offense that Zdeno Chara was leaving behind his last year in Ottawa, he had over 40 points. And Joe Corvo came in as a bit of an unknown for me, signing after 1 good season with the LA Kings, but he didn't make the NHL until 25. So he comes in as a 29-year-old off a 40-point season, 14 goals, and everyone's like, what's he going to do here? Ottawa's loaded. Ends up playing on that third pair with Tom Pricing, best third pair in franchise history. There's no doubt about that. He scored, and he scored one of the coolest goals. I think it was an overtime winner in Buffalo during the playoff run, where the Selly just looks up at the crowd. Everyone comes at him like he was an absolute dog. And obviously they brought him back for a cup of coffee in 2014, but part one of the Joe Corvo experiment was unreal. Ends up finishing that year with 37 points, averaging over 18 minutes a game.
He had a 5-point night one night there too, Ross. So that's I don't know if that's still the record but it was at the time for points in one game by a defenseman for a Senator. So yeah, Joe Corvo, I've got great memories watching him. He had cool style out there too. I think he was a great Sen. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got Joe Corvo there to wrap up my list.
Nice.
Excellent. I like the list you got going there, Ross. I think it's better than Pilsey's. Pilsey, you really did kind of screw me by taking 2 goalies, but not really, because I'm just going to take a page right out of your book here, and I'm going to take a guy who has 0 games played as an Ottawa Senator.
Danny Taylor.
What's that?
Danny Taylor.
It's Jonas Korpisalo, guys.
Nice. Yep.
Yet again, a player that it's coming in at a very crucial time for the team. We needed a second goalie. It was a great signing. They got their guy. I think they were eyeing him right from the very start of free agency. So
even beyond that, Martian. Yeah, they've been trying to get Korpisalo for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they got their guy with this one. We'll see how it pans out. Hopefully the fit is good and he can play as good as he can, because I know he's had a bit of a roller coaster career so far. But he's coming off and up. So let's hope he keeps that going. He's a younger goalie. I think he's only 29. No, that's goalie prime territory, right? So let's go with Jonas Korpisalo here for me. It's a bit of a TBD as well, but I like my team. I like my roster here.
People are going to be fired up for that pick, Martian, because I think the Senators' upcoming success or lack thereof is extremely dependent on Jonas Korpisalo having the similar type season as he did last year.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, the reason I didn't go for Korpisalo is I think
you get 2 goalies already. What do you mean? You're gonna have 3?
I would have picked Tugnut if he came back around to me. Like I told you guys before, I had a lot of goalies on here, but I think Korpisalo's, it's gonna be a tale of two halves of that contract. I think the first half is gonna be great. I think the second half could be a little shaky.
My draft strategy was always to leave the goalie to the very end.
Nice.
So I executed my plan.
Pilsey,
I love that for you,
Martian.
Martian.
Wrapping up this draft. All-time best Senators, UFA signings. Go vote on Twitter at Sens Central. It's live right now.
Not gonna lie, my list has been exhausted, so I'm going off some quick Google searches, some panicked ideas.
Who could have guessed that, Martin? Who could have guessed?
We knew that was going to happen to you. Let's see what you come up with here. Let's pull this one out of your hat.
This guy, along with the 3 other guys I picked, is just so wild to have in a group with the other 3 guys.
Are you taking another Russian?
I think he is. Oh,
no, I'm not. I'm going to go with Randy Cunningworth.
Okay.
I mean, look, this guy was he came to the Ottawa Senators very early, and he ended up staying for quite a while. He came to the Ottawa Senators in 1994, and he was a captain all 4 years that he was here. He got to see a little bit of playoffs in the back half of that, but capping out at 36 points in 95-96, and then back that up in 96-97. But a little different style of pick for me here, but I'm going with Randy on this last one.
Okay, getting Randy with it here with the old cap of the Ottawa Senators. I don't hate the pick. I think that might go over the heads of some of our viewers here. But you've also got one of them, the most recent one. So I think you have the first and the most recent one in terms of what year did they sign Cunningworth? 94?
94.
You just picked a guy that predated your Sens fandom. That's funny.
I know hey,
and for a guy who did no research, we know this pick.
I'm being honest about it. This is bottom of the barrel for me. Not taking anything away from Randy here, but I like a guy that you're a respected guy when you come into a room as a free agent and instantly get that C on. Now I know obviously that's a new franchise Sens team, but still, and to hold it the rest of your time there, love it.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that his contract was actually signed in hieroglyphics, so that's a really cool pick.
Yeah, his agent had to telegram the details to him.
Bills, you want to read off everybody's teams?
All right, so my team consists of Dominic Hasek, Vladimir Tarasenko, Andrew Hammond, and Randy Cunnyworth. Martian gets Claude Giroux, Sergei Gonchar, Todd White, and Eunice Corpusalo. And Ross has Artem Zub, Clark MacArthur, Ron Tugnut, and Joe Corvo.
Who's the best of the rest? And I'll ask this to Martian because Pilsy has no other picks.
There's a guy on here that I was really kind of like tiptoeing around, and if I didn't have to take a goalie, I probably would have taken him next. I think he was also a bit of a fan favorite and had some success in the playoffs as well. And if it wasn't for concussions, much like Clark MacArthur, I think could have had a longer career. And that's Dean McCammond.
Yeah, I was thinking about him as well.
He was a real defensive specialist for Ottawa. I really liked his game while he was here. Kind of like came out of nowhere, I felt like, with them. Didn't really know much about him when he came on, but I'll never forget, actually, I think I might have been in the building when Steve Downey smoked him behind the net in that preseason game. And that was kind of, where things started going a little south for him. And then, of course, he comes back in the playoffs and Pronger gives them that elbow right in the chops.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Dean McCammond had a good little Ottawa Senators career there, guys. 58 points and what is that, 193 games, I think, 143 maybe. Can't read my own writing, but yeah, Dean McCammond.
Nice.
11 and 18 in the playoffs too, boys. 11 points in 18 games in the playoffs.
That's pretty impressive. A great penalty killer as well.
Yeah, he kind of brought it to the table, so I liked him.
Yeah, I like that pick. Obviously, Alexei Kovalev's name has to come up. Maybe he was pretty streaky.
I was thinking about putting him in there, but then I was like, man, I can't. I need someone with a little more consistency.
That one kind of hurt. That hurt Montreal fans as well. I think that hurt their feelings a little bit, so that's an added bonus to that one too.
The only other names I have on here, Jarkko Ruutu was one.
Yeah.
I put Derek Brassard 2.0 low down on my list, but if I was in a pickle, I think he did a pretty good job filling in.
That's a good one
in this year, and then Scott Gomez is last on my list.
Nice. I should have went with that one.
Just for name recognition, but obviously didn't really have much of an impact there at the end of the 2015-16.
Didn't he sign after the deadline?
Yeah.
That's so random. Wow.
Yeah, very strange. So there you have it. Go have your say on Twitter at Sens Central. Make sure you're following at Laleem's Martian as well. We are going to do this each and every week. So like I said, on YouTube or in the Twitter comments, make sure you put down which Ring of Honors would you like to see us debate and get contentious with. And hey, why don't we say now whoever wins the most recent one gets to pick the order for the next one.
Yep, like it.
Love that.
Perfect. For at Laleem's Martian and Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been a bonus Locked On Senators brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. We'll be back tomorrow with a Sens Central Citizen every Wednesday this summer. And then Friday, another great interview coming. A guy who could have potentially been on this list. That's all coming up later on. You're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.